that will be awesome. Thank you.
Great,
Beautiful.
great.
Well,
Good.
happy Monday, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks so much for your patience in getting in and your tolerance of us coming together at such a late hour for the East Coast folks, but we have a good and hopefully not rushed evening ahead of us.
Yeah.
I'm George Friday. I'm part of the Southern Piedmont branch in North Carolina, and I have been serving as acting nominations chair through this process. And tonight we will hear from folks running for 4 offices. 3 of those offices are running unopposed. One has 2 candidates to choose from. Tonight we will hear the candidates all respond to 3 general questions, which I will pose. And then each of the candidates will answer a question specifically about their office. I will ask that first question, and other members of the acting nominations committee will ask questions as well. We'll also then hear from our president, Darian, about the process going forward. And there will be an opportunity for those of y'all on the call to put questions in the chat or ask questions if recognized by likely myself or Darian as we're moderating that. So our folks have 2 minutes to answer their questions. So candidates that are running, I will have my camera off for most of the time, so you won't see me. But when you're answering your question and you've got 1 minute left, I'll turn my camera on so you'll see me. That means you got 1 minute left. And at 30 seconds, I'll put my hand up. And this is, saying, all right, you got 30 seconds. And at 2 minutes, I will mute you. All right, so that's our process. So let's get started with the first of 3 general questions. There is a bit of a preface before this question. So, okay. WILPF is a membership organization that addresses the root causes of violence through a feminist lens. WILPF envisions a transformed world at peace where there's racial, social, and economic justice for all people everywhere. Board members serve as ambassadors of our organization. Accordingly, they are asked to engage in outreach to expand our network of donors and members and enhance our standing in communities. What are your thoughts regarding how you might utilize your position and influence as a board member to be an effective ambassador for WILPF? And each of y'all running will get a chance to answer this, starting with Mary Beth Gardam. 2 minutes.
Okay, well, because I've served on the development committee since 2014, I have quite a lot of experience reaching out to members. I also created the One WILF calls, which have sought to create visibility and unity and solidarity and action and mission across WILF. For 7 and 8 years, we succeeded to some degree, though a percentage of our members and branches have declined to participate in the calls, but still the outreach was there. Also, the Women, Money, and Democracy Committee, which I chair, last year designated outreach to branches as a priority. And we've been gaining opportunities to present virtually at branch meetings to make people more aware of our work and to attract more members to our committee. That said, I believe that for the last 20 years or so, most of our board, through subsequent boards, has not been nearly engaged enough in doing outreach and engaging with members. The future of the One WILF calls is not certain, but I will continue to do outreach through fundraising and the Women, Money, and Democracy Committee events and actions. I think our biggest challenge is to maintain visibility outside WILF, which is why we've been planning more public webinars and events across the whole organization, collaborating with new allies and partners who attract a different and wider demographic than our usual suspects, and inviting new people and potential donors to attend these events and actions. We'll continue to do that.
Mm. So you're done, Mary Beth?
I'm done.
That was great. You got a 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I will now ask that same question of Mary Beth's running companion, Martha Collins. Martha?
Oh, oops. Good evening, everyone. I mean, she did a mouthful in a minute and a half. I'm impressed with that. And so it's no surprise or shock why I am running for this position or this role on the board in hand in hand with Mary Beth. She brings a wealth of knowledge as it relates to the position that all of us have in some capacity, right? Whether it's been on the WILPF board or like myself personally serving on several national local boards whose missions and visions align very closely with WILPF. That being said, if elected, I plan on tapping into those networks. I think, it's an old saying around, you don't know where you've been, then you don't know where you're going. And I feel like WILPF has such a rich history involved in so many of these organizations that I'm a part of, as far as UNA USA, Planned Parenthood, 9 to 5, which was the organization I was leading here in the state of Wisconsin when I was introduced to WILPF, League of Women Voters, AAUW, or American Association of University Women. I mean, again, the collaborations, the partnerships, the overlappage as it relates to those other membership associations, just knowing that WILFers are still engaged and still involved with them, how can we tap in, find those opportunities, and it will impact fund development as Mary Beth has already kind of laid out and mentioned, membership growth. And what we all really care about is the greater impact with issues on local and national levels. So, that's how I plan on being an ambassador or continue to be an ambassador for WILPF, is tapping in more intentionally into those relationships and encouraging others on the board and in memberships, branch memberships, to do the same.
Fantastic, thanks. So that's 1 minute and 40 seconds. Still beautiful. All right then. Tina Sheldon, you're next. You can answer the question.
Yes. My first thought about how I can use my position to be an ambassador for WILPF is to learn from others. I see how others have talk about WILPF at every opportunity, not simply letting the work of WILPF do the recruiting, do the advertising, but actually actively recruiting. And I expect that I have something to learn in this area. My second thought is that I have recruited members for our branch, and I've also been active in working with other local groups as our branch, as an ambassador with other groups. So in essence, the next step would, if I am elected, would be to be an extension of that advocacy that I have done for the branch. Thanks.
Great. Beautiful. Under a minute. You are my hero right now. Okay, so next, hold on. I'm getting a little lost with too many things to pay attention to. CC Anderson, are you available to answer the question?
That's weird.
I saw her earlier. She must have stepped away. D. Murphy, can you unmute and respond?
Hi, everyone. This is Dee Murphy. I'm calling in via Zoom. I've been traveling for 5 days. I'm in Ensenada, Mexico now. So pardon my voice if it's very hoarse. We've been through different weather changes and whatnot. So to answer your question, I would basically continue what I have been doing. Since I joined in 2020, I've accepted several different roles on national and volunteered, and been able to meet a lot of different people on national that we have been working together quite well. So I think that this would be an extension. This position as personnel committee chair would be an extension of what I already have been doing. The first year I joined, I actually became a delegate to the International Congress. And there I met so many wonderful people that I joined the International Environmental Working Group. So I've been doing some work with them, more work nationally. As some people know, we founded the DPAL Committee, Domestic Prisoners of War. We've been doing webinars and doing outreach and bringing more people in and raising awareness of WILPF through our work. And we're a good team. We're still together. We work well together. We are a democratic group that respects one another and listens to everyone's input. I'm also acting, I joined a couple of other committees. I'm also acting as Congress coordinator for the 2024 WILPF National Congress. Even through that position and working with the committees, I've been able to bring more people from Minnesota, which is where I'm hailing from and returning to. But we're raising awareness of WILPF there. There are so many people who are just so interested in the work that we're doing now. Because of the outreach that we've been doing on the National Congress and National Programming Committee and my work as National Congress Coordinator. So basically what I would be doing is just working with other people who are doing great work, encouraging them, keeping lines of communication open as I have been doing. And through that, I believe that we raise awareness and strengthen the organization. Thank you.
Great, thank you. 2 minutes on the nose. So now we're going to hear from CC Anderson. That same question.
I'm sorry, George, I just got on, so can you go over the question again for me, please?
Okay. There's a little preface before the actual question, so here I go. WILPF US is a membership organization that addresses the root causes of violence through a feminist lens. WILPF envisions a world at peace where there's racial, social, and economic justice for all people everywhere. Board members serve as ambassadors for our organization. Accordingly, they are asked to engage in outreach to expand our network of donors and members and enhance our standing in communities. What are your thoughts regarding how you might utilize your position and influence as a board member to be an effective ambassador for WILPF US? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Communication, being responsible and being very diverse in communicating the positive aspects that what WILPF stands for, what they've done in the past up until the present and future, to let people know around the world, as we live in a global world now, who we are and what we are trying to accomplish doing this organization as a representative, speaking positive words and communication.
Fantastic, thank you. 25 seconds. I am just wildly impressed by y'all. Okay, so our last candidate for this first question, Ginger Harris.
Hi, I'm running for board secretary. My membership on the board and my responsibility for keeping accurate minutes of board meetings and board actions will educate me more about WILPF's latest positions on issues and thereby make me better able to communicate that information to both our existing and potential members. I fear I won't have as much bandwidth as our 2 previous national secretaries, Eileen Kurkowski and Diane Blay, to be as effective as they've been as ambassadors for WILPF, but with tutoring from both of them, I will try to be an effective ambassador by staying in touch with and helpful towards both board members and general members.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ginger. So you will be the first person, Ginger, to respond to this next general question. We'll start with you and go hopefully reverse if I can remember it. The second question, please share your goals for your board position and the board in general. Again, you have 2 minutes.
My goal for being board secretary will be to make the minutes of board meetings and board actions as accurate and helpful as possible for board members to rely on and for both existing and potential general members to learn more about WILPF. I would hope to be available to all of these people to help them find the information about WILPF that they want or that they need to fulfill their roles in WILPF. A goal for the board itself is that it achieve all its current goals, of course. But like the founders of WILPF, such as Jane Addams, I want our organization to be open to new challenges and to take advantage of opportunities so we can pivot when these arise. In my experience, at least in St. Louis, there's been a significant age turnover in our membership in perhaps the last 20 years. So I believe we have to focus on making WILPF relevant and attractive to young women at, age of students, workers, and young mothers. And I think we've done this, for example, with issue committees like Women, Money, and Democracy and Earth Democracy. In fact, I can hardly think of an issue that WILPF hasn't addressed. And this may be WILPF's other big challenge. We cover the waterfront, such that potential members might wonder how WILPF can really be an expert on all of them. I don't have an answer except to say that I hope WILPF continues to address whatever issues our members want to explore, assuming they will always be looking for what's good for the whole world.
Thanks so much. So now CC Anderson for that same question.
Okay, I am trying to become more diverse in the personnel department and choosing people with diverse backgrounds, skill, education, and communications, being relevant, listening to what others have to say, and making sure everybody has a voice at the table. And also things change, in the midst, being open for change, being relevant, being available to hear as well as listen and understand what the requirements and the needs are in the organization, is to get people on board that will recognize there are differences in opinions, suggestions, and communications, so that we can become more outstanding and relevant with other organizations and be more effective with what we're planning to do.
Thanks so much, CC. D, you're next.
Hi, okay, so your question is, how would we use the board position?
Your goals for your position and the board in general.
So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about working in WILPF is that it's not me, it's us. It's all of us working together. And so we, tend to make group decisions. It's a democratic process. My goals are to continue reaching consensus. It seems like through group decision making, we reach the best decisions. So about a year and a half ago, I became International Advisory Board Rep, which was a new position, which was created after the Congress. And as a result, I've been privy to a lot of the board meetings and board discussions. I've been already contributing and participating, and I really love working with everyone because of how we treat one another with respect. We hear one another, we take into account one another's perspectives. And for me, the goal would be to continue doing what we've been doing as far as open communication, addressing needs of the organization, and ensuring that every task that needs to be performed is done in the most effective way that respects everybody's input, their views, and the democratic process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Tina?
Thanks. My goal for the board position will be to learn about the governance and to see what effort I can bring to the work as an individual member of the working group. I think that if I have any goals beyond learning, it is to bring a growth-oriented, optimistic view to our work. What I mean by that is that there's a branch of cognitive science that is learning a lot about the impact of our outlook. And my belief is that It is on us to get better at envisioning the world that we want to see. I don't mean that in a simplistic, wishful kind of way, but a concrete, we won't get there unless we create the roadmap kind of way. An example of that is that in the recent Reaching Critical Will newsletter, there was a just real example of, it was after this second meeting of the state's parties for the TPNW, was really about creating that, the world that we are, that they have envisioned without nuclear weapons, in a sense, leaving the nuclear states behind. Thanks.
You have another almost 60 seconds. No, you're cool. You're good. Very good. All right, then. So Martha Collins.
So goals for the board position and board in general. I think my personal goal for the WILPF board is to ensure that it's more sustainable and a thriving membership organization. As a membership service director for the Urban Economic Development Association here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that's what I live, breathe, eat each and every day as I prepare for a membership committee meeting tomorrow with my employer. How can we make this organization attractive and not only be able to recruit, but retain members? A personal goal of mine is definitely to increase the diversity around age and race and ethnicity as it relates to not only my local branch, but at the board, the board leadership level. And so, and then be remiss not to mention, of course, looking at fundraising goals and fundraising plan that falls into that sustainability piece. So really reflecting on previous years' performances, some of that, intellectual knowledge that Mary Beth and others that have stepped in the moonlight in this position can share. Looking at, again, previous year's performances, taking a deeper dive into our specific donors, their ages, their retention rate, and things of that nature, as well as looking at fundraising strategies that gives us the best return on our investment, right? I think we could do so much more with our website and, drawing people to our website, being able to download a number of different documents so that, those young women that are members that are part of AAUW and some of the other organizations I mentioned could bring them into knowing who WILPF is, understanding the history, using some of those materials in there each and every day. But it starts with the update of our website. And so those are probably the three big buckets of personal goals and board goals that I have.
Perfect. Thank you. Mary Beth.
Okay, well, I believe that the purpose of the board is to govern over policy and mission. And in the development fundraising realm, that means guiding the strategies of fundraising and WILPF. From roughly 2015 through 2021, I was the sole fundraising representative professional at WILPF. And in 2021, when I retired from that volunteer role, we hired part-time fundraising contractors who've been doing a really great job working diligently with a positive can-do attitude. So in addition to the work I did previously as a volunteer, which included 2 mailed appeals a year, encouraging branch donations and major gift donations, bequests, recurring monthly donations, plus a regular communications and fundraising calls with members and donors several times a year. In addition to all that, Genevieve Brooks is spearheading new donor acquisition efforts and doing foundation grant research for WILPF projects that are recommended by issue committee chairs. She's also conducted trainings for committee chairs on how to develop fundable projects. For decades, what has been missing in WILPF fundraising is outreach to new donor leads. I asked for but never received good, solid donor leads. And in many more affluent nonprofits, they traditionally purchase lists of qualified donors and use those lists as prospecting vehicles. But the rate of return is always very low. You get only a single use from the list, and the list is expensive to rent. So instead, we've been pursuing research on major female donors to progressive candidates in states where we have branches. In this way, we're generating qualified leads in the only way open to us, using the lists we've invested in and can use over and over again. We've been testing the lists with soft ask emails that invite these qualified donor leads to WILPF virtual events and our excellent webinars. And now that these lists are nearly complete, nurturing the leads is the role we have before us. Most fundraising professionals know that the majority of donations are always going to come from the folks who are already connected to you. So we're determined to continue to reach out to our current donors, encourage folks to increase their donations to WILPF as much as they can, and to increase monthly giving, promote requests, and tax-deferred giving among our members.
Mary Beth,
Yes.
I have to interrupt you. I can't mute you because I'm not the host, but you're 21, 22 seconds over your 2 minutes.
Well,
But
all
you
of my
get
other
to answer the last general question, which I'm going to
all-
ask now, and you start.
all of my other answers were under time. Can I just finish this one? I only have 3 sentences left.
Okay, read your 3 sentences.
In terms of goals for the board in general, for fundraising, my goal is to get every member of the board of WILPF to contribute some amount of dollars personally, in addition to the amount of time and in-kind donations they give. No matter the amount, it's important to be able to demonstrate to foundations and other donors that 100% of our board is committed to supporting the organization. Also, this generosity at the board level would do a lot to encourage our fundraising staff efforts. Ta-da!
All righty then. So now the third general question everyone gets to answer. It has a little preface too. In these challenging times for feminist peacemaking, WILPF needs to increase membership, participation in branches, and on issues committees. Please share your ideas for increasing member participation. Mary Beth, you start.
We're in a bind because women engage over specific actions and projects, but many of our branches don't plan and execute their own events and actions and projects. They don't originate them as WILPF events. We've kind of gotten into the habit of supporting the actions of other ally organizations, but not necessarily taking on a long-term, not a one-off, but a long-term kind of project that would set us apart and give us visibility. The first step might be to do an active listening campaign in each branch to find out the local issues that are of most concern to the most vulnerable people. And then with the help of our program committee, branches could prioritize those local issues which match up with WILPF's mission and vision. And then we might help branches do the kind of strategy planning to make for a successful outcome-oriented action or project. It's that kind of local project that could be, if that kind of local project could be identified, enthusiasm could be built around it, and hopefully it would draw new members. We saw that in the early 2000s when WILPF was providing a lot of really good resource material like this corporate study course and the Save the Water course. Each branch promoted these small study groups and enlisted a lot of new members because of them. And that kind of local outreach and response to local concerns is what we need to reinvest in. I believe we also need field organizers located in this specific area who are familiar with the local leaders, influencers, and issues, and can help us connect WILPF to new leaders who can take their place within WILPF US.
Thank you. Martha?
Sure. Well, overall, I believe that WILPF US needs to conduct some sort of like SWOT analysis. I think what Mary Beth has laid out is pretty much similar to what I was going to say at a national level. At a national level, all of us at local branches represent and wear dual hats in that respect. Once this is completed, I think these strategic goals and activities should be shared, bought in by local branches, and to inform them on what direction national office is going. Sometimes I feel it's hard for someone that may be interested in membership with WILPF to really understand and know where our vision or focus is, with so many things that we take on. I think being very intentional in what we do take on at a national level and getting, that active listening or focus group feedback is going to be critical and so important with maintaining our existing membership and attracting new membership. And I keep kind of going back to the part about the website. I think, I'm in this mindset, especially right now, as I mentioned with my employer, of what's the benefit in it for me. I think people think about that when it's so many different charities, causes that they can give their time, talent, and treasure to. And if we have, ebooks and other type of resources that I know we have readily available for people, it really helps them to see the value in the membership. Of course, around the issues, of course, a lot of the work, the past and present, and we hope to do in the future, that will bring them in as well. But I think also having those tangible items readily available to them, those, the webinars. I think with COVID now, we were able to do these things before, but became mandatory for us to do online webinars. And, I understand we sign on to various other organizations, petitions and things of that nature, but what can we organize and do as it relates to petitions and as it relates to things? I'll stop.
Thanks. So now we go to D.
Hi, everyone. So the question is regarding how can we recruit more members?
That's correct.
Okay, I think that it will happen organically. I feel that we've got a great team of volunteers and people who are committed to this organization and the mission of WILPF. And I believe that things like our Congress will do a lot. When they see how well we work together and how committed the members are, more people will want to become a part of that. And so the continuation of outreach through our issue committees, through the work we do, and open communication, being welcoming to new people coming in, and ensuring that people understand that, we're willing to work with whomever is willing to work with us on the same page. I believe that's going to organically increase other committed members. So I really can't wait for this upcoming Congress, because we have a lot of local organizations in Minnesota with outreach across the country. And we're going to likely come out with new members from this, just putting on a great Congress, just open communication, continuation of the work of our issue committees, and people seeing how well we all work together as a group. I think that will increase membership as well. Thank you. I see you waving. Sorry.
Thanks, D. I skipped over you, Tina. So you go before CC. Go ahead, Tina.
Okay. I'm not sure how you're keeping track. It's hard to keep track even as in the lineup. Increasing participation is growing our sisterhood. It is using the tools of relationship building at every level. It is believing in the vision and mission enough that you want to share it. Likewise, it is knowing the environment that we are in. We are in a post-pandemic, hard to get volunteer to commit time. So maybe we make it easy for folks to participate in a drop-in event without prior RSVP, if it's a sort of event that we can do that. Or recognizing that when we talk about recruiting younger members, that is a refrain that has always been true for this organization. We are a place that resonates with mostly, not all, women who have move beyond the parenting early childhood years, who have perhaps the luxury of not being in those early adult years. Again, not all, but many of us. And I think that we can lean into that and partner with younger groups when we want to build cross-generational working groups, while also helping our aging members to continue to feel that they have a place in WILF. And specifically building on local initiatives that WILF, that has always been a part of WILF, maybe reconnecting with those, some of the ones that Mary Beth was talking about, kind of doing a little research on those, which is one of my hopes to do as a board member. Thank you.
Okay, CC, your turn to answer this last general question.
Okay, I was just listening to everyone else, and I am in agreement with what's already been said, but I did want to reach out to women of color, have some communications in different branches in different states, to where we reach out to college students, young women who are in college, who may not know what WILF is about. And then we can have sessions in the different branches where we have receptions or socials to bring out who we are, to explain and reach out to them to let them know what we are about, what we do. Also, we have several women who are feminists that want to be a part of. So we need to therefore have some type of pamphlet, newsletter, website, organization building, restructuring to inform people, women in general, as to what we do and what are we going to do in the future. As we look at the world situation now, we have so much going on and women are involved. So therefore we need a well diverse group of women, young and old, more mature, young, that can be teachable and want to learn and to become involved in what we are doing. Now is the time, because everybody wants to be a part of something and a part of a group, an organization that is moving forward, which is just like WILF. And we want to make sure that we have a well-diverse group of women who can participate in its organization and be fully accepted, no matter who they are, their background or ethnicity.
Thank you so much, CC. Ginger?
Okay. I believe that my experience as an almost 45-year member of the St. Louis branch, plus almost 5 years, the last 5 years in the Boston branch, can supply me with examples of activities that I can describe to our members and branches, which they can use to reach out to potential new members. And examples are periodic lobby letter writing sessions, which we do in Boston every week. Gathering names on petitions and contacting these people afterwards, which Eileen Kurkowski is really good at. And she's also really good at the idea of putting WILF displays in libraries and other public places. Other ways to touch base with possible members is tabling at college campuses, which we did in St. Louis, providing programs for high school and college clubs on topics that they're avid about, such as global climate chaos, inviting potential members to our monthly board meetings, especially when we've invited a speaker, organizing vigils related to current events, for example, the war in Ukraine or genocide in Gaza, organizing community events such as annual potluck suppers with speakers to commemorate, for example, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or International Women's Day, leafleting on tax day to showcase U.S. military spending and unfair tax rates, leafleting on Black Friday to suggest not buying war toys, and talking especially to women at anti-war rallies and marches to tell them about WILF and to hand them a brochure. I did a version of this last thing when two young women rang our doorbell to proselytize for their Mormon faith. Our conversation veered toward the fact that their religion doesn't discriminate against any groups of people. When I asked if they knew about Jane Addams, and they said no, I handed them a WILPF pamphlet about her, which one of them eagerly accepted and said she couldn't wait to read. So just some ideas.
Good ideas. Thanks a lot for that, Ginger. So now we're going to move to questions for the specific offices. I'm going to read the question for the personnel chair. Jan will read the question for the development committee chair. Eileen is reading the question for secretary, and Virginia is reading the question for the at-large person. So for personnel chair, here you go. Currently, all of WILPF US staff are independent contractors. We are very fortunate to have a cadre of excellent staff who are skilled in their area of responsibility and appreciative of our mission. How would you ensure that they have an opportunity to share any suggestions they may have regarding the general outline of their responsibilities? Let's ask that first of CC and then of D. CC, you'll have to unmute yourself. CC, can you unmute yourself and respond to that question?
Okay, I'm steady talking. I didn't know you can hear me.
Okay.
Find the best fit for the organization, understand what is needed, first of all, and listen. Set expectations, and then we can build relationships, make everybody feel a part of the team, and regularly check in with the board and the team members in the personnel department. After 15, 20 years of doing personnel and HR requirements, I would like to specify the expectations regarding what is expected out of the personnel department and the subcontractors, and making sure they know exactly what is needed and expected of them. We do check-ins, including what they are willing to do and what is needed to best serve in WILPF, as in the personnel department, making sure everybody is on the same page, making sure they are happy, making sure everybody feels a part of and know exactly what's to be expected of them from the board as well. And extending, as a queen of negotiations, I would bridge that gap and try to conform with the team as well as the board and get things accomplished.
Thank you very much. D.
Hi, so WILPF is really blessed. Excuse my voice again from all the traveling, but WILPF is really blessed to have some amazing contractors. I mean, they do way above and beyond what is really in their job description. I think of people like Chris Welbeck. I think of people like Len Ruga, Michael Ippolito, Geneve Brooks. These are contractors who are excellent at communicating their needs. I've had to work with them on a number of different projects because of being so involved on a national level. So we already have established lines of communication going on. I feel like there will be no issues with any of us communicating amongst one another. And if there are questions, you know, there's always people that are here to help us on a board, and we do work together in groups and things like that. And that's one of the wonderful things I've discovered in the past few years working on national, is that people are so willing to help. And if you don't have an answer to a question, there's always someone willing to offer insight and advice and help bridge any kind of questions that are needed. So I see you waving. Hi again, George. And thank you.
Thanks, Dee. So now we'll hear from Jan, and then Eileen, and then Virginia.
Okay, so thank you. And this is for the development co-chairs. And since you are co-chairs, either one of you may go, take a crack at it first, and then the other person add. I'll let you decide how you want to handle that. Both of you have done a really nice job already of sharing some ideas about fundraising and what we might be looking forward to as we go into the future here in terms of fundraising. We also understand that there's currently an ambitious WILF effort underway that involves fundraising. And if you'd like to share more information about that, please feel free. Or if you just would rather tell us how that fits in with kind of the more standard appeals, kind of the spring and end of year appeals, is that affected by this other big campaign? And anything you'd like to share regarding that.
Martha,
So
do
whichever
you
one
wanna
of you'd
go
like to go.
first?
Yeah, you're
You can
good,
go
Mary Beth,
first.
go ahead.
Okay, well, it's true that during the next 3 to 5 years, we'll be launching and carrying out an ambitious fundraising campaign based on a large anchor gift we just recently received. We've been working with the donor to manifest her wishes for the gift and make that money go as far as possible with successful outcomes within the WILF US structure. We believe that using that gift as an anchor, we can approach large donors for matching gifts based on a bigger vision for our organization in the next 10 to 20 years. We hope all our members and donors will want to be a small part of these goals, but the majority of the money will be sought from large major donors. Our development plans will focus on continuing to promote our annual giving activities while working to raise these large amounts from a narrower demographic. The launch of this campaign will happen in early spring of 2024, and we're hoping it will generate enough excitement through the whole organization to inspire support, and we'll be working to generate that support in many layers and in many ways. We're hoping everyone will want to be part of this in a small way, although large gifts will be what we're going after.
Should I just jump in?
Yeah,
Sure,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Martha.
Sure.
So, yeah, spring of next year, we've got this really great opportunity, once in a lifetime. I have not been involved in any other membership organization, work for, volunteer for, that has received such a large donation from one of their long-standing members. And not to reiterate or repeat a lot of what Mary Beth has already said, but how it affects plans for development, I think, it affects in a very positive way, obviously, because it allows us to really bring on, we do have the skilled consultants, independent contractors, but brings on experience, executive leadership that WILF hasn't had in a long time. And so that this large fundraising campaign really excites me to be able to identify someone and bring her on board, as well as a team. I know it's been reiterated in several comments throughout the call that we work democratically and we work together. And if you come from an organizing background as myself, many times we get burnt out. And so we do need to have someone that is a paid staff person, that we don't say, okay, go off and be great. We still continue to support them, but allow them the space and the grace to bring their expertise into place. Also comments were made around field organizing from others. And I think this donation gives us that opportunity to have boots on the ground and really have grassroots organizers that are doing that relationship building, telling our story, telling your story, telling our story. I mean, oh my gosh, someone just mentioned 45, 50 years on this call of their engagement in St. Louis and the work that she has done with others in that branch. and we should be screaming that story from the I see you, George. I'm like, let me stop. Screaming that out and letting people know that branch, just one of many alone, has a wealth of stories that we could be telling through our field organizers and through this fundraising campaign. So how it impacts, we're going to continue to use our independent contractors to do what they've been doing. We're in the middle of a year in. Shameless plug, if you haven't already received the mailer, you will. Please donate and give. 75th anniversary of Universal Human Rights Declaration was just celebrated this past weekend. But, you know, that's great. And that has to continue. It's not an either or, it's an and. So how do we be able to, you know, sustain, have another 100+ thriving years as WILFers and a WILF organization? And I think this campaign is going to allow us to be able to do that.
Thank you both.
Eileen, can you ask your question of our candidate for secretary?
Absolutely, my pleasure. Ginger, I think you've already touched upon this in detail. However, you may want to expand on it. What do you see to be the practical roles of secretary within our U.S. section?
I agree with you, Eileen, that I've already discussed this, but I'll just repeat it. I believe the practical role of board secretary is to keep accurate minutes of board meetings and board actions, so all our existing and potential members can rely on them. I would hope to make them available in a timely fashion, and I believe my role will also be to help existing and potential members find this information in our archives. That's pretty much it, the practical role.
Great.
Thank you.
Virginia, I'm looking for Virginia. I don't see Virginia Pratt. Does anyone?
She was on the call earlier, but she doesn't seem to be on now.
Well, I'm going to read this. This last question is for a person running for at large, and I'll read it since Virginia isn't here. What do you see as the roles of the at-large board members, and what would you like to accomplish in this position?
Thanks, George. I see the at-large position as one that has some flexibility to serve on ad hoc committees to fill in as needed, and hopefully give me a chance to learn about board duties. I would love to continue the work on the Congress Program Committee, planning our next Congress with Nancy and Dee, and to help shape that what the Congress will look like. I also have questions about best practices, mostly at the branch level, and would like to, have the opportunity to research some of those that we've done in the past, and what we can carry forward in the future with a fresh focus. I would also like to help members in branches and issue committees to build their own capacity to be the best that they can be. I would like for us to use our resources wisely, including the resources that we have in-house, as Ginger was just referring to. I will also say that we need each other in troubling times. Elizabeth Gilbert has I think it's her quote, "Sisterhood is the most ancient cure for a woman's despair." And, creating relationship building that Martha was just talking about, I think that is our strength. And that's what I see as my goal with at the at-large position. Thanks.
Thank you, Tina. So now, Darian, are you on the call? Darian, DeLu, are you here?
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to invite questions from the members?
Certainly, and I do apologize for not feeling particularly well. And I am delighted at this event this evening, such an opportunity to hear from some of our future board members to hear such articulate responses. Thank you so much, George, for your very graceful handling of keeping track of so many people and so many opportunities to respond. So thank you, everyone. This is the opportunity for the general membership to ask questions. And if you have a question ready, if you would raise your hand, or if you're visible, wave your hand, but preferably raise your hand with Zoom. Okay, I see Veronica Lack. Would you please unmute yourself? Thank you.
I would like to put the issue of reinstating my son's Russell III equations back into our USDA NRCS system of approving permits for the application of PAFO liquid manure and anhydrous ammonia nitrogen fertilizer. They're the most water-soluble nitrogen fertilizers that create the blue-green algae on our rivers, streams, and in our source waters. And when we chlorinate that cyanobacteria, we release deadly cyanotoxins that are very carcinogenic. As a former small farmer, my pigs died in excessive numbers from these cancerous tumors. And we also lost a lot of my neighbors and family members. But over the years, the development of testing for these PFAS chemicals like anhydrous ammonia, we have had trouble with our in the state of Iowa, we're run by a Republican administration. Both senators and our governor for several terms was appointed by the prior 30-year Republican governor, Branstad. But Kim Reynolds this year ended all testing for the 99 counties, and I'm one of the Soil and Water Conservation Commissioners, particularly in my case for Dallas County, Iowa. We cannot filter these PFAS chemicals out of our water. They're different chemicals. There's maybe 12,000 of these PFAS chemicals. And I've been trying to get a grant from the Biden's infrastructure bill. They have a part there that
Veronica, excuse me. We do have several campaigns around PFAS chemicals. Yeah, I'm sure you know that we work closely with multiple others. And I am not sure how you want the board, which of the board candidates did you want to respond to your question, and what specifically is your question?
Well, maybe any board member that is interested in the sustainability of our water, soils, and air quality in Iowa and throughout the nation. We need to get a little bit more consideration to these PFAS chemicals. And also, like in the Biden infrastructure bill, there are funds there to provide testing and equipment for our water treatment plants, so we can even detect them.
So we can use the IRA funds from the Democrats' past legislation. And this is a question really for all of the board members, but since
we need grant applications. So maybe there's a crew of grant.
We do have grant staff, and that may be a better question to direct to them and have them get back to you, because we have database access and lots of information.
Thank you.
So be sure to put, I'll put my presidents@wilpfus.org email address in the chat, and please do email me.
Okay. And the Russell III equations were installed under Obama's administration, the revised universal soil loss equations version 3. And we need them reinstated with access to the EPA and NRCS data that they use to limit point source polluting. Unfortunately, when Trump's administration came in 2017, he redacted access to all the databases information that my son's equations utilize to limit.
So we'll want to get whatever website links there may be to guide people to that. There are other people waiting to.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So Regina Sneed, did you have a question for a particular office or candidate?
Actually, I have a question for all board members concerning this resource of money that's coming to WILF is specifically to afford us to be able to hire an executive director. We have not had a paid executive staff person for quite a while. We have a number of, the board is going to have to come up with a position description for this person, figure out where they're going to work. Are they going to work in office full-time? Since we don't have any staff that necessarily work in a location necessarily. So there are a lot of questions about if I were to apply for such a job that I would want to have answered. So I'd like to hear from all the board candidates. Are you, what is your experience in working in an organization that is basically very strongly volunteer-led, and yet now wants to have, once again, professional staff on a national level that might increase WILP's visibility if we had an executive director that could be a spokesperson. So I'd like to hear what people's thoughts about this idea. This is a new development that has come forth, and it's coming in at a time when new board members are being elected that will participate in this process.
So thoughts at the idea of an executive director?
How is a strongly volunteer-led women's organization going to integrate a new executive director staff when we don't really have everybody's working kind of remotely, we don't have a central location, et cetera. So what are your thoughts about this, and how are you going to develop this job description and work with an executive director that's going to become the face of WILF?
Okay,
I suggest that Dee and Cece and Mary Beth and Martha address this question, since it's relevant to their possible board positions. It's not necessarily relevant for at-large or secretary in the same way.
Every board member is going to be voting on these proposals.
But it's also late, so we want
That's fine. Somebody answer, please. I don't care who. Anybody who wishes.
Well, I can take this. All of the positions that we currently have are remote, except for Chris Wilbeck. In fact, Chris works out of her house most of the time anyway. But I think that with the benefits of Zoom and the ability to meet in teams and work collaboratively across many of our committees, I don't really see the remote position being a difficult problem to navigate. All of our staff, as I said, are remote, and they do a great job and work very well together. Now, I agree that it will take some adjustment, but the devil's in the details, and we'll be putting together some job descriptions that the board will have to approve and weigh in on. It's the best we can do to navigate these changes, but it's an exciting opportunity for us. It's as Martha said, it's the opportunity of a lifetime to be able to get this kind of professional leadership when we've been struggling so long with volunteers who give everything but are exhausted and running out of steam.
Thank you.
I just
Thank-
want to add on to that. And frankly, like, they're exhausted, they're running out of steam, but they are the workers. They're your worker bees. Your executive director, yes, this money is now coming in and it's going to be for this position, but we know it will be gone. It's not money for, residual money. So this person being the face job, not sole job, but big chunk of their job description will be fundraising. How do you maintain an organization without such executive leadership, without identifying someone to do that? And frankly, we all have been remote for 3 years, right? I mean, I worked for Feeding America, and my office was my Chevy, and in the parking lot where we distributed boxes and bags of food. I mean, we all have been, if you've been working in this workforce anytime recently, have been remote. And with the technology that frankly was here before the pandemic, we just started utilizing it properly and more better. It's something that can happen. Let me give a real example. So I used to work for 9 to 5 as a state director. That's a national organization that had multiple, offices or parking lots of cars in different parts of this country. And we had a national executive director, and we had state directors, and we had the shoestring staff. I mean, 2 or 3 organizers, right? But who did the heavy lifting was our volunteers. Feeding America had like 50,000 volunteer hours each year, right? Some crazy amount. And so we knew we couldn't do the work we did without our volunteers. So volunteers aren't going away. This is a really cool thing that the executive director is coming in with such a working board, coming in with such passionate, engaged, and involved volunteers that they can learn from them and not have to reinvent the wheel and be able to be that visionary. So I'll stop there.
And I'll speak to that as well, Dee Murphy for STAC.
Yes.
Philip Cole has had his hand up too.
Oh, no, this is a question to the candidates. So Dee and Cece would be answering this one about hiring and so forth.
Well, I think
Okay.
Regina addressed it to all the board.
But go ahead, Dee.
I meant the board candidates that are up for election, not board members.
Oh, okay.
We're talking to candidates tonight, are we not?
Uh-huh.
We are. These are the candidates for the offices that most directly would be involved with hiring, but you made the point, which is true, that all the board members will be voting on this. But in
Right.
order to get to more questions, if
There's one other candidate, the secretary who's running. She could comment if she chose to.
yeah, well, there's still Dee and Cece, I believe.
May I speak?
Please.
Okay, so my main concern in working with WILPF is to ensure that everyone that needs whatever they need to perform to their best ability has what they need. As a newer member, I came in very blind. I didn't know anyone, who did what. I've learned over the years, thanks to other people stepping in and being willing to help me when I had questions and was trying to find my way around. My hopes are that with an executive director, it is someone who's been around WILPF a long time and has already demonstrated their dedication and commitment to the work of WILPF US. However, if someone were to be brought in from an outside organization or agency, my primary responsibility, I would feel, and my duty would be to assist them in finding their way around and beginning to understand the structures. And if there are any questions about who they should contact for what, or how does this work, I will do my best to answer. I think most people who I've worked with on a national level knows that I tend to always include other people in any kind of dialogue or conversation, just to ensure that the information I'm sharing is correct or imparting with someone else. So if we brought in a brand new executive director, I would say, well, perhaps, this is the route you'd like to take. Let's consult this person, because this is, what I've seen them, the area that I've seen them work in, the most. And then I'll copy other people, and other people will say, well, yeah, there's also so-and-so, or, this location, or this connection, or this fund, or what have you. So I would be more of a connector as far as helping them find their way around until the responsibilities become more defined, in which case we will all work as a board together to ensure that we're moving in the same direction. Thank you.
Thank you. And Cece. Cece, you're not muted as far as I can see, so.
But she put a comment in the chat that her phone is not working.
Oh,
So
thank you.
you could read it. Or I guess since my mic is off, she says, my phone is not working. I would get with the board to set the job description for the executive director position, format what's expected for the job. Sorry, Cece.
Thank you, Tina. Okay, and Philip Cole has been waiting patiently, so I believe he's next in the stack. Philip?
Well, yes, we have one competitive race here, and the new secretary position up for grabs. And my question is, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom is over 100 years old, and I would like to know what their understanding is of the mission and vision of this organization. Thank you.
So Ginger, as secretary position, would you respond to that? And then I'm sorry, Philip, which was the second one you wanted to answer?
Well, the secretary and C.C. Anderson and D. Murphy.
Thank you. Yes. Ginger? Ginger, you're muted. You're still muted.
Okay, what the vision or the mission of WILPF, what I think the vision or mission of WILPF is that what you're asking, Philip?
The complete question is, what is your understanding is of the mission and vision of WILPF? It's over 100 years old. Those thoughts were established at the beginning of this organization.
Oh, okay. I'll try. I think it is to examine the problems in a society that keep some people from being able to live fully human, fulfilling lives, and to figure out all the ways. I'm just going back all the way to Jane Addams, figure out all the ways that people are kept down. And of course, at the very beginning of WILPF's history, the first meeting in the Hague of the, of the women was in 1913, actually 2 years earlier. And they, and then World War I broke out. And so then when they got back together again in 1915, they sent delegations of 3 of their members, different groups of 3 members to the warring states to try to convince them that there was no purpose in that war and they should stop. And they were highly regarded for that. But anyway, just to say that they were really starting out to try to get the vote for women, and they switched over quickly to trying to stop war and have been basically anti-war ever since. So I think that WILPF now is doing all the things that the original WILPF people wanted, which was to both stop wars, stop militarism, and also to identify problems in society and figure out ways to overcome them, to get them addressed by
Yes, thank you.
governments.
Thank you. And that question was also directed to the 2 candidates for personnel chair. Cece, are you able to use your phone, or should we look in the chat again? I'm afraid that Cece can't answer. And And I don't see a new post from her. So maybe Dee, if you take no more than a minute since CC can't speak.
Sure. My understanding is that the mission of WILPF, both U.S. and international, all of the different sections of WILPF are working together to examine the root causes of war and to end wars. And so all of the different isms, sexism, classism, racism, economic and disparities. These are all the things that WILPF works towards reducing and eliminating. So world peace is ultimately the aim, and finding the root causes of the wars, ending those is the answer of the mission.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I thank each one of the people who answered for very comprehensive and informative answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. And I see that it is very late for our East Coast sistren, and I would like to pass things back to George, who I know was ready to go to bed a while back, to close us out. And thank you for the questions, everyone. George?
Well, Darian, can you remind us of the next step before we say goodnight? Ballots are going to go out. You've got to have the ballots back by December 23rd.
That's correct.
And right now, that's all I remember.
Okay, so the ballots
Yeah.
are in the mail now. And when you get your ballot, please go ahead and vote. They have to be postmarked by Saturday, December 23rd. So give yourself a little present and send it off if you haven't already. When you get your ballot, it will probably contain the URL for the elections website, the candidates website, but you also have received an email about tonight's event. And in that email, the link was provided for the candidates website. On that website, you can find the candidate statements, their resumes, their letters of recommendation, and their answers to the 5 questions on the candidate's application. So you can inform yourself about them in multiple ways. And we really appreciate everyone who is running. It is an exciting opportunity to be on the board, and it's also a responsibility. So I just want to sincerely thank everyone. And does that cover it, George?
I believe it does. So I believe we're ready to say goodnight. Happy holidays. Have fun. Put out snacks for Santa. And have a great new year. We'll see y'all. Thanks for voting. Thanks for this process. Thanks for all you do. Bye.
Thanks to you.
Thank you all too.
Be sure to save the chat if that's what you like to do.
Bien a todas.